relative comprehensive, let's see here. All right, 1620. Is there a motion on 1620? Senator Pearl?
ITL.
Is there a second?
I'll second for discussion.
Okay. Discussion?
Can I ask that you bring Director Wimsatt up? I think he has some information that might be valuable to the landfill bills that we have.
Would you care to be up here? So 1620. And do you have questions for the representative?
Well, I know in my previous conversations with Director Wimsatt, he had some information that he felt would just help us, guide us through the landfill bills that we have in front of us, and so I thought it would probably be beneficial if we had the opportunity to hear what he had to say.
So I'm going to go for it. I'm looking for the actual moving bill, and I don't have it in my folder.
Thank you.
There it is. Welcome.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. For the record, my name is Mike Wimsatt, Service Director of the Waste Management Division for New Hampshire DES. And, in speaking with our commissioner, we knew that this committee was going to be executing some landfill bills. And we have had, as you probably know, a very active session with regard to landfills. In particular, the House Environment and Agriculture Committee had expressed a lot of concerns about some important pending rulemaking that the department was doing relative to our solid waste rules, that all of our solid waste rules are expiring in July, and we are adopting some chapters without amendment, but a number of chapters we're making substantial changes to. And one of those chapters is chapter 800 of the solid waste rules, which relate to siting, design, and operation of landfills. And the E&A committee felt it was so important they established an ad hoc subcommittee to kind of monitor our rulemaking progress. And so we've appeared before that committee several times over the last almost a year, or I guess at least 6 or 8 months, to kind of give them an update on where we're at. And as part of our most recent meeting about a week or two ago, we did, at the request of that subcommittee, we went before them to give them an overview of what the proposed changes for Chapter 800 were and how we felt that they make some very substantial improvements to the environmental protections and safety of our landfill rules. And so that letter was submitted to them a couple of weeks ago, and I've just had it distributed. It's dated April 23rd. It was addressed to the chair of the subcommittee, Representative Creighton, and it outlined actually 19 areas that we identified where we felt that there were substantial improvements to the safety and protections provided by the rules relative to landfill siting and design. And with the committee's permission, I won't go through all 19, but I'll maybe highlight 3 or 4 of them that I think are worth noting, just for your reference. And the first one in the letter is item number 1 in the letter, and essentially there are several certain sections of the rule that are proposed to be amended. And I should note that these rules, the rulemaking notice went out for these rules last week, and there will be a public hearing on May 20th, and then that'll be followed by a comment period, and then we'll continue the rulemaking process through that on through. And so this section, certain sections of the rule are proposed for revision to basically incorporate, to ensure that both stormwater, leachate, and landfill gas infrastructure and the location of that infrastructure on the site are considered in the siting requirements. Right now, our rules essentially only require that the landfill footprint be considered with respect to certain site-specific siting requirements. This will ensure that all of those additional components of the landfill will also be considered as part of the siting, which we think
were they not before?
They weren't. No, it was really just all the site-specific setbacks and such were really focused just on the landfill footprint, which is defined as the area of the footprint or the area of the landfill in which waste is actually placed.
So these are tightening up the rules a little bit.
Right. When you design and construct a landfill, you also have outside that landfill footprint leachate management and stormwater management and gas management systems. And so now all those systems will be included in when we review against the siting criteria. So we believe that that will improve the protection of groundwater, surface water, and other potential receptors around the landfill. The second area I'd highlight is number 2 on the letter, and that is we propose to amend the rule to require a minimum standard for the in-situ hydraulic conductivity of the soil located immediately beneath the landfill footprint. The existing rules don't have a minimum requirement for how porous the soils are, if you will. And this proposed change will improve protection of groundwater.
And so already you don't need legislation to do that. You're already putting that forward, and it's tightening up again. It's making it that much more stringent.
That's correct. With this rulemaking, that will be part of the rules and will be enforceable for all, applications for new landfills or expansion of existing landfills. And then a third area is we propose that, let me see if I can maybe cover it. Oh, yeah. Basically, again, it's item 3 in the letter, and it would require that a landfill and all the associated infrastructure associated with stormwater, leachate, and landfill gas management would be cited such that a discharge or a spill or a leachate release or any other failure of the containment system would be detected, assessed, and remediation initiated prior to that contamination reaching any perennial water body. So there's a lot of concern on the part of the legislature and the public about protection of surface waters and how we accomplish that in the rules. And this, we have a parallel requirement like this in the existing rules for groundwater, but it doesn't address specifically surface water. So this would strengthen it to say that those conditions need to be met, both with respect to protecting groundwater and protecting surface water.
So if we have another season like last year, where we have an excessive amount of water, this kind of addresses the surface water a little bit.
Sure. Well, and that's a good segue to the next 2, and then I'll stop. So the next one, item 4, basically in keeping with this concern about surface water setbacks, we're proposing to amend the rules to increase the distance between a landfill footprint and a perennial surface water body from 200 feet to 500 feet, with the exception of first and second order smaller perennial streams. And that distance will remain at 200 feet. So currently the rules have just a standard 200-foot minimum setback for all surface waters. This increases that for most surface waters. And then along those lines, with what you asked about with weather, there are several sections of the revised rules that would require that for the design of leachate management and stormwater systems, that consideration be given to the increased frequency and intensity of precipitation that we're now seeing. So in a number of locations, or number of places in the rule, instead of designing a stormwater system or a leachate management system, say the 25-year storm, we're designing it for the 50-year storm, or some similar provision that accomplishes the same thing. So basically, these rules are acknowledging that we are seeing frequently higher frequency and intensity of precipitation events, and amending the rules to make sure that we're designing and operating these facilities to accommodate for that.
So passing a bill like this, basically, how does that affect the rulemaking process that you're already doing?
So the purpose of discussing this is just to give you some background and understanding of what we're doing with the rules to improve the quality and protection of the rules. But in the context of this bill would propose to essentially put a moratorium on landfill permitting activities for a period of time. And, we've testified that we do have some concerns that it would delay permitting of any new facilities in such a way that it's possible that there could result in having a shortage of capacity available. So I'm not saying this is specifically directly related to that, but I think we felt coming here today, we thought it'd be helpful for you to understand what we are doing with respect to the existing landfill rules.
So on the existing permitting process, these rules will still affect them as well?
So that is a great question that is very specific to the individual circumstances of an application. Mm-hmm. And these rules, the schedule they're on, we're really hoping to have these rules in place by July 1, but for a variety of reasons, we're not quite going to make that. That doesn't create a crisis because we filed within the time frame that we did. The existing current rules remain in effect, and then we believe that we'll likely be going to the Joint Legislative Committee on Administrative Rules with a final proposal to make these rules final by August or September. That's where we think that will put us in terms of the schedule. The question about whether an application that may be before us right now would be subject to these rules is one that we will be engaging with the Department of Justice to find that out. I don't really have an answer for that
Either
this
way,
time.
yeah. Senator Pearl with a question.
Thank you. Thank you for bringing this in. Is it fair and reasonable to say that, I mean, you've done a great job on making some very needed and necessary changes in your rules, and I commend the department for that. Is it fair to say that many of these have been driven by a lot of the legislation that we have seen, and just to say that, you know, we understand that some of the communities and there's activists that are very concerned about what we had for rules, and is it fair to say that at least to some extent these rules are in a response to the areas that you've seen highlighted that are concerned?
Absolutely. We got that a very similar question from the E&A subcommittee when we met with them last. And you know, what I've told them, I'll tell this committee that, you know, we've had a very robust discussion. These rules have been subjected to more pre-official. We're not, you know, we really just started the official rulemaking process when we filed the rulemaking notice, right? But we've been working on these rules for more than a year, and we've had, I think, more participation. We've had public meetings. We've had unofficial drafts that we circulated for comment and had comment periods on in the fall. So we've had a lot of involvement here, and everything we've been hearing from legislators, from the public, from the industry, has all really gone into our review of this. And, you know, much as you have a difficult job making decision on legislation, the agency has a difficult job deciding where it's going to land on rulemaking because it really affects things. And so I'm really proud to say we worked very hard. We've listened to everybody. You know, we've had to make some changes to our original draft because we learned that some of the things we were proposing were going to kind of not be workable in the real world, and that happens sometimes, and that's why it's so important for us to listen to everybody. But the decisions we've made probably have not made anyone happy, and sometimes that's probably where we need to be because we're being realistic. We're developing rules that we believe will be implementable and enforceable, at the same time providing for significant improvements in the protectiveness and the safety that's afforded by the rules.
Well, thank you. Again, I appreciate your answering my question. I appreciate your work on these rules because I know it's been an emotional topic for the legislature for 4 or 5 years now at least, and I just appreciate your work on it.
Senator, also
Thanks, Senator.
question?
Now, is there an outstanding permit application right now?
We do have an application for a new landfill in the North Country before us right now.
Okay.
Hello?
Nope.
Senator Bertzel? We really appreciate your work. Thanks for everything.
Thank you.
And can you stick around later?
Yes, sure.
Okay. Thank you.
Happy to.
All right, further discussion on this bill.
This the work. So this letter that we just got is very heartening that they're putting the work into the rulemaking. I'm thrilled to see that this is coming forward. However, it.
You're not thrilled that the rules are being coming
No,
forward?
I didn't say anything about not being thrilled with the rules. The bill is just asking us to pump the brakes on citing new landfills till 2034. It wasn't asking us to, it didn't say because all of these things weren't done. It's just pumping the brakes. We have capacity. We're not even going to come close to capacity, and this is a very, very short moratorium because what I don't see in here, because I've just been reviewing this for the past 4 minutes, is a review of out-of-state trash and how that factors into the volume of in-state trash that needs to go into solid waste landfills, and how we want to move forward with that. And this moratorium, which is overwhelmingly supported just gives us that opportunity to pump the brakes. It doesn't say never, it just says not right now, and we are okay. We actually have, the research has been done by the committee that we're okay through 2034. And this is only asking us to pump the brakes till 2028. So even giving a buffer. So I think that, it's worthy of just taking a break, getting the rules absolutely right, looking at what our future holds for solid waste coming into the state or what we're generating ourselves. So I would hope that we could pass this.
Further discussion?
Well, I'm going to say this. I have always been hesitant to put a moratorium on any of the on these solid waste facilities, simply for the reason I believe our department acts very responsibly. They do a good job. They take these applications very serious, and I think we have a demonstration of that in these new rules that they're putting forward. I believe that they've been responsive and they're listening. And my concern with a moratorium has always been the length of time that it takes to permit one of these facilities is years. Mm-hmm. And if we stop 4 more years, I mean, I can tell you this particular facility that you were discussing that asked if there was a permit application in place, Senator Altschuler's, this project has been working on for many, many years.
Oh, yeah.
And it'll be many, many more, even if they are successful in navigating the process, before they actually ever received a permit and were able to do anything. And that is my concern. We do have the 2034 date, I know is out there, it's talked about a lot. I believe we're fine until then. I believe we're fine beyond that. I do. Mm-hmm. But I think we have a process in place that works. We have a department that takes it seriously, and I just don't feel that this is a policy that the state needs to take at this time.
All right, I'm going to move this along because we have other bills. So what?
So we had an ITL motion.
All right. So I'm going to move the question. All in favor of ITL?
Aye.
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 Any opposed?
Nay.
All right. Senator Pearl, you want to take it out?
Sure, I'd love to.
Thank you. All right. Is there a motion on HB 1632? And this will be our last one for today. I think I'm going to do 1623 with Senator Waters here because of this amendment.
Which one? 1632?
1632, yeah.
Just a minute, let me get there.
And I know 1623, Senator Waters has an amendment, so I'm going to wait on that because he'll be back next week. And I know we're going to lose you, Senator Birdsall, so. Right, you're going to be gone next week?
Oh, I am, yes.
All right, 16.
Is there a motion on 1632?
Gonna move on to pass.
Is there a second? Seeing there's no second, the motion fails. Is there another motion?
Move ITL.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Discussion.
There. Sorry, I'm just having trouble with the page here.
Cannot help but, recall when we were on the floor of the Senate and Senate President Bradley impassionately talked about how we had to take proactive steps so that New Hampshire didn't become a magnet for undocumented immigrants. And it seems like we're very, 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 very intense about not having more people come in. But this actually stops us from becoming a magnet for out-of-state trash. So we're not going to put a moratorium on landfills. We don't have our rules finished yet, and we already are becoming a dumping ground for other states' solid waste trash. We don't need to do this. If we take care of our own business, we can, we only export 5% of our own trash, but we import 40% of our landfill contents. I don't see how this benefits us in any way because we can't control what is coming in from those other states. You know, we can be very mindful about what we put in our own landfills and how we collect our recyclables and hazardous waste, but we have no control over what comes in from other states. So,
I think one of the issues.
you know, it doesn't get treated for PFAS either. We're gonna end up covering that. That seems wild that we would say, sure, send it on in, and then we'll cover the remediation.
I think one of the issues that came up in discussion, though, is the fact that we do have the Commerce Clause. And this would generate lawsuits, no doubt. I'm a co-sponsor on this as well, but further investigation, it just seems as though this is gonna cause more controversy than anything, and I'm not sure we can legitimately do this.
Where did that come up in discussion? I'm quickly scanning through the
That's
report. I don't recall. How would the Commerce
So
Clause?
it's in the letter from Commissioner Scott.
Commissioner Scott.
1, 2, 3.
And it also came up in
Commerce Clause of the U.S. Constitution has been commonly interpreted to preempt a state from explicitly prohibiting or adopting policies that would restrict a commercial solid waste facility. And DES is concerned that this bill as drafted would subject future permit decisions that incorporate the bill's provisions to a legal challenge based on the Commerce Clause.
And it did come up in the study committee that generated this bill, and I remember that specifically, but we went forward with it anyway. And it is for discussion, and of course, it's very heartening to know that the rulemaking is is tightening up the rules on solid waste. We do have an issue. We want to make sure that we go move forward responsibly, but this right here just generates more controversy than anything. And as far as that, and that's just another battle. I think one of the things that we did come out of that committee hearing, though, was the fact that we can reduce our tonnage by 2/3, create energy if we had incineration. But
We could also
that's another discussion. But so as
limit
far as,
it. If we owned all this, then we would be able to say, no, we're not taking it.
Well, keep in mind that there are some southern tier cities or towns that do take their trash south of the border. So we do export some of our trash. And we also have the bill that we're going to be hearing on the PFAS, so that at least regionally we may be all the same.
yeah, and we'll take that one up
Right.
Later. But
Yeah, the southern tier trash that goes out makes up 5% of the entire state, though. That's it. That's 5% going out, and we're bringing 40% of our total in.
So
it's off balance.
There is material that does come from out of state that we want, that we use for cover. That also came out of the study, and we don't want to limit that because it basically it layers. It covers the bad stuff, if you will, and then a pile on top of that. I forget what it's called. Do you remember what that's called? Yeah, thank you. But it's something that we use, and it's good for us. So,
Additionally, there's products that we don't landfill here that we send out of state because we aren't able to do so. They go through recycling and things of that nature. Further down the road, we may be looking at the opportunity to actually put recycling businesses in place here. I sit on the solid waste working group, and there is discussion that we were having at our last meeting. Director Wimsatt was there as well, about opportunities that may come forward for what product was it?
advanced recycling.
Yeah, well,
Passed that last year.
what product was it we were talking? Was it mattresses?
Yes.
That there's the ability to establish recycling. They're making advancements in technology, and so I'm just concerned when we start limiting like this. Again, my biggest concern is the interstate commerce clause. Senator Altshuler, I struggle to draw the comparison between bringing in a regulated legal business with illegal immigration. I'm sorry, but that one I have a little bit of a trouble making correlation between.
The correlation was becoming a magnet.
I
The magnet, like drawing in. So
I'm gonna
We
move
have
this
an
forward.
amendment though here. I have notes that there was, I have notes for a possible committee amendment that we discussed during the hearing. That on line 4, after the word solid waste,
It originates out of New Hampshire.
that originates or is collected in a state other than is New Hampshire.
I had that.
Are we open
same
to
note.
that?
At this time, I'm not. I'm gonna stay with the ITL. I have concerns here that I don't think that will solve.
All right, I'm gonna move it forward. Moving the question, all in favor of ITL?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed?
Nay.
And I'll take this one out, seeing I'm a co-sponsor. And I think that's gonna be it for today. We're gonna do, we did a lot today.
All right.
So is there a motion to move out of exec?
So
So
moved.
moved.
All in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed, see none, and you